So you know, every year when I start my State of the City, I'm not like a lot of other people who just sit up and have a podium because I'm too short. I don't like to be behind a podium. Nobody can see me. So they read a list of what's happened and all these kinds of things. I usually have a theme. I usually talk about something. And this year I was kind of struggling with what would the theme be? What would the theme? So I called the city manager and said, you know, believe it or not, I don't have a theme this year. What do the staff think? What do the staff want? Well, the staff said, we want to know what the future of Richfield's going to look like. And so I said, well, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. So I have an opener for this. Raise your hand if you remember watching this. See? Yeah. With the advent of YouTube, you can get anything. I wish I had that to do to drop my son off. See, and some things never change in the future. Well, that certainly changed a little bit, hasn't it? But you'd be surprised how many things we saw in the Jetsons that are actually real today. That really happened. And so what I want to talk about when I talk about Richfield and how the future looks from what we saw there to here, I want to start with the past. A lot of you, and some of you in this room would know this, that is the Richfield map. And if you can't see the detail, but it's Lake Harriet up there. We had a vast, huge swath of land when we were first Richfield. And unfortunately, the city of Minneapolis kept annexing and annexing. That was when the big cities did those kinds of things. And it wasn't until later when we finally said, wow, we better make a city here or we're going to lose all of our land. We'll be totally Minneapolis and there won't be a Richfield. And Richfield is this today because of that. We have lost New Fordtown and some other things. So we're really kind of a rectangle right now, and that's what we have. But we still do have some beautiful water bodies, lots of green space, and we're known for our park. So I'm not unhappy with that, but I think I would have been happier if we had more of that land. I would have liked to have had Lake Harriet. I don't think the mayor of Minneapolis is going to give it back. But this is really interesting. These are municipal buildings, and we can't even place the top right picture. That is an old house. And of course, we have a tall garage because that's where the fire truck was. But we can't even place the date on that picture. That was the first City Hall. Isn't that interesting? We have a wonderful historical society here, and we're able to grab those. And I remember when I was first mayor, and a couple of council members who remember those old chambers in there, and remember the leaks and the tarps we had to put up because the water was literally raining down in some parts of the building before we demolished that building. So, and today we have this beautiful, sustainable building. And the future is going to be sustainable buildings. Yeah, this is an energy efficient. One of the things you notice about is a beautiful light in this, where we don't even have to turn lights on in a lot of places because of how well this is used to use regular natural light, but also stay energy efficient. All the spaces have light that bounce way into them. It makes for such a pleasant workspace for folks. There's nobody down in a basement closet anymore. And that was the case. We did actually have people in a basement closet. So I'm so grateful for what we are doing. And the future is only going to be more buildings like this. But how do we have buildings of the future? The buildings of the future will be zero net energy buildings and zero net energy homes. This is a couple of pictures of you see the ones with the solar panels on them right now. You see some of that in Richfield. You see some people putting the photovoltaics on there. And you see a picture of our Richfield liquor stores because that is our hope for the future. Our hope for the future is that we're able to use photovoltaics or something to make those energy efficient. We have done, we did a lot of work on the Public Works building. We have geothermal there. But what we could do here, because there's such energy drivers because of the coolers. even though we put coolers in that are energy efficient, we need to offset that. And when it becomes feasible, and we don't think that's far around the corner, every other year or so, Steve and I sit down and we go talk to somebody and see if it's there. Well, it's not quite there yet. It will be. The technology is making jumps every 2 to 3 years now in the energy efficiency field. And so you will see zero net energy buildings, and we'll be able to retrofit a few things, I think, right here in Richfield. And this is what the solar is going to happen in the future. These are some interesting materials that are coming about. I especially like the roofing materials that are actually photovoltaics. And they look attractive these days. You know, when you look at those arrays that you put on the roof, besides the fact that you have to clear the snow off of them, these utilize their own heat a little bit to clear the snow themselves. But then you see the turbines, and believe it or not, that tree that you see in there is a turbine. Isn't that beautiful? Couldn't you see that in a park? I could. And using our highways to generate more, and using directly into the lines to generate. This kind of technology is around the corner. And it's nice because Richfield is poised to be one of those, because 35W comes right down here. Where else would you, that or 494, where else would you put a beautiful pilot of something like that but in the city of Richfield? First of all, we're very open to those kinds of things. We like to see what we can do, and we've tried a lot of things. Some things haven't always worked, but most of them do. And usually government's the first one to move some of this great technology along. So in the future, we're going to be generating a lot more energy for ourselves. But food systems, I wanted to talk about food systems. Dewtown, some of you who are new here don't remember, this was a huge health initiative. It was about wellness, it was about the environment, it was about our children, and it was a city-wide program for the city of Richfield, but we also partnered with Bloomington and Edina. And there were lots of, we had $1 million grant from STIP. We had Blue Cross Blue Shield who put in probably about that same amount of money. And we did huge work on this. We literally moved the dial on wellness. And we made significant policy changes. Those policies are here today. And we have better wellness, better health because of those policies. But where are food systems going from today? This was food systems in the past. This is Richfield. Those are Richfield pictures. One of them right off the cover of our Richfield history book that shows the farms. But we still have some of those farmhouses. They're still here, just no farms. No cows roaming around. I've heard about chickens in places, but I haven't got any calls lately about those chickens. But you know, this is where we were. We were the people who fed the fort. We were the people who fed the Twin Cities. We had the first farmers markets, right, and the farm trucks. Okay, but what's going to happen in the future? It was very interesting. We had some developers come here and pitch an idea, and this was the idea: indoor growing facilities. This is happening throughout our nation, and it's happening throughout the rest of the world. Japan's a leader in this. So are some of the European countries. There's a really huge facility that's happening in Chicagoland area, but there are also other facilities right here in the Twin Cities area, and I visited several of them. But there is an idea that as we develop our corridor, that this would be a viable option to put in there. And of course, you still see on the right-hand side the farmers markets. Farmers markets are more popular than they have ever been. And the cities that didn't have them, they've started them because they realized what that means. It's placemaking, it's community, and people want those kinds of things. They want fresh, good food that they can pick up and know where it came from. These are local farmers. Ours is a local farmers market, so they're local and clean foods that they want for their children. The community of the future. It's going to be more density, but in parts of Richfield. You see that we've already built some density. These are parts of 66th and Lyndale. These are some of the apartment complexes that are here. Where it's appropriate, we will put more density because more people want to make different kinds of choices of where they live. They want to live in condos, they want to live in apartments, they want to live in townhomes. Not everybody wants to be a homeowner. And that's very true for our millennial generation. They're making choices of what they really want to own and where they want to be, and they want to be more flexible, but they still want a sense of community. So we need to provide those kinds of opportunities for folks. There was a good article, I think, in the Star Tribune about the density that's happening over just in Edina right now. The one concern you have to do with density, though, is as you put that density in, are your roads and your other infrastructure going to handle it? Or were they built big enough? Was enough resilience in there to handle 5 o'clock traffic? those kinds of things. So those are kinds of things we're looking at as we move forward with that. Let's see if it's going to go. There it goes. So Richfield Park and Open Spaces. These are pictures of our beautiful parks. And up at the right-hand corner, our biggest, most wonderful festival, my favorite days, are the 4 days of 4th of July. It's 4 days of party, and it's a blast. And people want that. They want those kinds of things in their community. They want to be able to participate in those kinds of things. And it's a great family event through the days. There's all kinds of activities going on for the kids and the movie night, and then we have the ambassadors program, but we have the parade and the 4th of July fireworks set. We have to thank Best Buy. They have been a large sponsor for this all the time. But what I want to tell you about park space is we're not taking park space away. We're going to add more. As we look at the restructuring of 66th Street, we'll have the ability to put in pocket parks. And we had some preliminary conversations. Director of Parks and Rec is here, Jim Toppenshofer. Thank you for being here. We're talking about theming those little pocket parks and getting the neighbors involved so they can have something that they want, something that fits their neighbor in their neighborhoods. We're also talking about some of the reconstruction that'll go on down when we do the 77th Street underpass, and that we'll actually be able to add to that park and maybe even put another soccer field. What else could we do there? What else could we do there? One of the things that I have to tout, because it's a health and wellness thing that I think is so clever, is our Park and Rec department, our community services are putting in park and play equipment that actually help kids build their core muscles, and they don't even know it. It's like slipping broccoli into the soup. It's the best thing we could be doing, right? The best thing. Transit systems. There's going to be more and more options. We're already seeing the options in the transit systems, right? I love this. That's the old Arby's. Look at those cars. Isn't that fun? That's Richfield in the past. And down here is kind of the Richfield transportation right now. That's at 77th Street. But this is what it'll look like in the future. You're already seeing it. You just have to go out here right on Portland Avenue and see how we've changed Portland Avenue. It was once a 4-lane highway. That's kind of how I saw it. It's now a 3-lane. And look, we have the beautiful streetscapes coming in. We have these beautiful crosswalks. 76th Street is like this now, taken from a 4-lane to a 3-lane. You'll see this across parts of 66th Street where it's appropriate. We're putting in buffers and park light. We find out that people want to engage more, and they want to engage more at the local level. They want to go out biking with their children, but it's not safe on those little sidewalks that are right up against 66th Street. Have an 18-wheeler go by you. I know I've door knocked that a lot. So this is where we're going, and this is where we're headed for the future. As we reconstruct our roads, you'll see a lot more of this coming. The future of the car. I got a couple of car dealership folks back there. Hi, my general managers. Yes, driverless car. That's a picture of a driverless car. That's the way of the future, right? I guess I get too far away. It doesn't like this. But here's what we're faced against. I think car dealerships are going to evolve. And they're already talking to me, and we've talked about the electric cars and electric charging stations and cafes there and things like that. But we have Our Car, we have Zipcar, we have Uber these days, and I have used Uber. Some of you maybe have. But I think all our dealerships are going to start looking at not just necessarily selling us a car. They already lease a car, but a different kind of a lease on a shorter term. They're going to be providing car services, I suspect. I suspect there's a lot of conversation going on of how they can get in the game of like an Our Car or something like that, especially with the hybrids and the electrics. I look to see the development that they have, and the two most innovative car dealerships are sitting in the back of our room, the Honda and the Mitsubishi right here, and I suspect they'll be some of the first on the market to try some of those new services. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. The new shared economy. So let's move into that, because that's what we talked about. We talked about Uber and things like that, the shared economy. You might not be aware of what's going to happen, but it's happening right here. Airbnb is real, and it's happening right here in Richfield too. We have people who are using other people's homes. But you might not know that in-home restaurants are really hot in New York. So some of the chefs decided that they don't want to work at so many hours and everything. So guess what? They serve in their home. They send out a menu, they invite people in, you pay a fee, and you get a delicious home-cooked meal in somebody's home, and you get served by the chef. I think that's kind of a cool thing. Some people in residence here have been probably contacted about the community solar. You can invest in community solar now, and you can have, you buy solar and you buy it and it's sent to you, and so now you can offset your footprint from community solar. And they're talking about the home health care. That's an interesting new thing. They're talking about teaming with Uber, and so a doctor or a nurse practitioner literally comes to your home, or if they can, they Skype, and they do medical treatment that way. But if they need to send somebody, then Uber comes and picks them up, takes them there, and that's how they'll be able to go right back into the homeroom. Some of you aren't old enough to remember. I do remember the doctor coming to the house. Some of us had that. And there's still a few doctors that'll do that. But this is the way of the future. Some of the things we did a long time ago were really good things, like big sidewalks and boulevards that we took away. They were the right things. And now we're going to do them again. And then the Amazon same-day delivery, that's more of an Uber model. They're actually going to look for people in your neighborhood to say, can you go pick this up and deliver it to your neighbor's door? And we'll pay you this much for that. And so that's how they'll get their same-day delivery model. I'm not thinking they're going to get the drones, guys. Cool as it may be, we're too close to the airports and everything. I don't think that's going to happen for them. Big data. The other thing about the future is big data. Not only is it a lot of huge databases that the government has, but it's open sourcing all that data. I sit on the Metro GIS board, and that's the county region about big data, and we just opened everything up. That was the biggest thing we accomplished over last year, is doing that. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that somebody doesn't have to buy that data set. They can literally go on to the government website and grab it. They're also coordinating to put the data in such a way that it all coordinates together, so you can dump it all the same. You can use that. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's census data, and it's addresses, and it's taxes, and it's revenues, and it's a lot of data. But what does that mean to you? What does it mean to anybody? Well, this is what it can mean for us. It's the modeling up there you see on the right-hand side. You can take some of that data and do some modeling. And then you'll see the big data and open source will be available through your library. We suspect that that will be the place, that's the most logical place for it to come through. But libraries of the future are going to have different things. That's a 3D printer up there that you see in that little box. I think the 3D printers are already happening over on the East Coast. We need to start doing that here. If we want to be innovative, we're going to be putting these kinds of things in our libraries. That's what I hope to do in the future, is to get those kinds of things into our libraries. I'm working on a program right now to get 2 3D printers in our schools. And if you want to talk to me about that, I'd be happy to talk to you about how I'm going to do that. So I could use your help. We need to have our students ready for the future. And the future is this. They're using these in surgery, these 3D printers. They're making prosthesis with them. They're making car parts for these. They're developing products. If you need a product prototype, that's how you do it, right? Electronic books are a really, really big thing, but people still like a gathering place in the library. And libraries are looking more like that cafe. That's a cafe in a library, because people want to gather there. And sewing machines, would you have thought about it? But people love sewing machines. But do you know what? They don't want to own it. Our millennials don't want to own these things. They don't want to own the 3D printer. They don't want to own that, but they want to go somewhere where they could use it and where it's open access. Those sewing shows where they do all these designer stuff, they want to try that stuff, right? But they don't want to own that sewing machine. So where could they go? How about the library? The library is going to change because it has to survive, because electronic books will put it out of date. They're taking all the books we have now and converting them to electronic as fast as they can. There's huge programs to do that, nonprofits that are doing that and putting them up online for free. There's a lot of books you can download for free if you know the right websites. And more technology advances. What's so fun is this picture on here. Here's Richfield moving into the future. Look at that behemoth, right? I don't know what it took to move that in, and I don't know what it took to move it out, or maybe we didn't. Maybe we left it in that old building and just mowed it down. But these are computers of the future, and I've got one on too. I got one of these fitness trackers, which puts everything, your steps, your sleep, all those kinds of great things. It does make you think more to park a little bit farther, to take the steps. I know it has helped me, and that's the Apple Watch, and then those are our computers of today. So all our kids need to be really savvy. What I found out when I was going to the high school is the kids all have that cell phone. They know how to use that cell phone, but they don't know how to sit down and use the Office suite to make a paper, and that it'll put their bibliography together, do all their footnoting. They don't know how to do that. but it's necessary for them to know that. And as we do more, and our director of technology over at the schools does more, you'll see these kids being a lot more tech savvy. They're talking about how to get a one-on-one program going over at the schools. That's what your technology grant has been doing for those schools. So thank you for those who voted for that. It was a worthwhile thing, and we'll be moving into the future with that. 3D modeling for cities. When I think about big government, this is some of the most exciting stuff. I sit on the Regional Council of Mayors, and we're working with a company right now that is taking the big data that I talked about at Metro GIS, and they're going to be putting into these kinds of models. What you see there model is a model of revenue. And how significant that is it actually is a prediction of modeling. So we can take that and we can predict it out in the future. But even the cooler thing we can do is we can say, okay, what if we added this service? What would it do to the rest? Or what if we stopped this service? We can actually see the impacts by putting that into that model. So we know if there is a significant impact or not. We also can see the impact that we have on an adjoining community once maybe we would open up the big grocery store and everything like this. Well, will that take revenue away from the other city? We can see that. We can actually model that kind of data. So any kind of significant redevelopment we do, we can look at it first and say, who are the winners and losers? And then we have data to say, is it something we could mitigate if we need it? Or is it something that's going to be phenomenal and we're going to have a great thing? So we'll have data to back that up. We can use census data, we can use population data, we can do a lot. This tool will actually be ready here in probably another year and a half for cities. And that's some of the work that I do at a regional level. Money and revenue and budgets. We're not going to get rid of money. Everybody needs it to survive. It may be electronic transferred, but it's still money and budgets. I think the biggest thing I can say for us, and the most exciting thing is and it's not exciting to a lot of people. Nobody shows up at that budget meeting. We always joke about the crowd out there, right? There's nobody there. Poor Chris Regis. He always wins an award for his great leadership in that and his transparency in our budget. But long-term planning. Long-term planning and having a vision for the future really matters. That's how we get this kind of financial budget moving in the right direction. But I have some past budgets. I think this is so funny. When Steve said, I said, Steve, find me something to show me something. How about a $5,000 dump truck? Gosh, I wish we could get a dump truck for $5,000. Isn't that great? We paid a senior mechanic $8,700. Wow, wasn't that amazing? Today, if you look at that dump truck now, what is it, 90,000 down there? Not quite the same. Not quite the same. So the reality is prices are going to go up. It costs more to make these things. They're higher tech. They're safer. They do a lot more things, but everything costs more. Our police cars cost more. Our technology costs more. And so this is, I wanted you to look at this as far as for the proposed budget. This is This is the percentages from 2006 and now 2016, right? Taxes are still our biggest revenue, right? 10 years hasn't changed that. And you can see there's not very significant when we talk about revenue of income streams. Those haven't changed over 10 years. And we don't expect that to change. It goes up and down a little bit depending on which party's in there, about how much LGA we get or something like this, but it's not significant. But this is what it looks like from 2006 to 2016. So where we spend our dollars. We spend the vast majority of our dollars on public safety and fire and then public works. Because those are the core services that a community is supposed to give to its residents. That's the services. We will continue to do that. That is the biggest deal. We'll continue to look for innovation, for grants, for other dollars to fund that. But that's what you expect. You expect good snow plowing on your roads, to take diseased trees out, those kinds of things. You expect the fire department to come when you call, and they come quickly. And that's how you provide that service. And it hasn't changed, and it's not going to change. It will be the same in the next 10 years. So these are just some efficiencies, ways we found dollars. We've done some job sharing in this. We moved some of our fleets, and we've extended lifetimes on cars. We've done all kinds of innovation to try to stretch our dollars even further. And I'm not going to read all these to you. You'll see them up online. We will be posting this, and this will be up on our website. We reduced our salt on roadways. I want to talk about this because this is a program that's gone metro-wide. where we've actually used less salt, still kept the roads as clear as we can. We've learned how to calibrate our equipment much better, and it's better for the environment. It saves your city money. We saved you money doing this, and we still haven't given up any of the safety features from using that. So those are some of the things that we have been able to do. We do internal loans for ourselves. That's a great thing to do rather than taking outside money. Saves us a lot of dollars. So when you remember the technology, and I want you to see that, we have the watches, right? We have the TV screens. You can Skype or you can FaceTime with somebody. You can read the newspaper up on your screen like that too these days. The only thing we don't quite have is we don't have Rosie the robot. I could really use her. We have those little vacuum cleaners, but I don't know, they kind of spook me. I just couldn't get used to those. So I haven't been able to move to that. And I'm an engineer, so I kind of like technology, but I just can't do that. But I could use somebody to clean up after me in the house. So that's where we're at. That's what the future is going to look like for Richfield. It's a bright future for us. I think the brightest part of our future is going to be, in the real near future, is the 77th corridor, Cedar Corridor. Once we pull that underpass through, it will change the face of the east side of Richfield. And I'm looking forward to being here to see that. So thank you. Thank you for your time. I'll take questions.